Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Talked Before. This time, frame of mind. Yes, TNG, frame of mind. Hopefully you're in the right frame of mind. You're in the right frame of mind for Trek. So if you're there, hey, follow us on Facebook. It's All Been Talked Before. Keep the Trek love going. Keep it going even further. Patreon.com/IBD. You can go there, support us, become a Patreon member, get the bonus stuff, see the videos, see the extra crazy stuff. Find out, maybe, possibly, some of what Keith's talking about when we open the show and when Jimmy doesn't cut it. Get all that bonus stuff, not just from us, from the mothership as well. Patreon.com/IABD. And then you'll be in the right frame of mind for this. This is Frame of Mind on It's All Been Trek Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. Your regular hosts are here.
This is Stephen.
And Keith.
Jimmy Jerome. We are in the correct frame of mind tonight to talk about the episode Frame of Mind. You can tell Patreon viewers that Keith's in the frame of mind because he's a fox.
Yeah, my hair is unacceptable at the moment.
First impressions on frame of mind.
All right. This is actually perfect for a first impression because this is one of the rare occasions where my expectations, I think, enhanced that first scene. The things that have been given away in the synopsis. And, you know, I feel like I've been doing a decent job of putting all that stuff out of my head. Because I'm always like, oh, God, why did I didn't want to hear that. But, you know, usually once I'm going into the screen, because first of all, Paramount Plus has a way of doing this thing that enrages me. They get you coming in at least twice with automated video clips of like in the middle of the episode or wherever. And like, what do you do? What? I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
And you had to rush to get through that. So you're reminded immediately of what's going on. And you see little synopses too as you're going in. So knowing that this is going to be one of those, oh my God, am I in an asylum thing? What's real? Am I crazy? Whatever. Them jumping right into that first scene, I thought, okay, this is right. They're getting to it, and they actually got me with the swerve of what was actually happening there in the cold open. In that self-indulgent, I'm an actor watching people act thing. This was a lot of fun for me, actually. Especially the ship parts and the parts with the play and so on.
Yeah, I thought the parts like the acting, the theater stuff, obviously, and some of that stuff was fun. I thought some of once they started breaking the fourth wall. Or whatever, however I call it. I thought some of those effects were actually kind of cool, not necessarily cheesy. The overall arc, I wasn't that interested in because I just felt like, and maybe I had the opposite thing of like, oh yeah, we talked about this, that we'd kind of seen this before, but so I didn't love that necessarily, and at the end it ends up being, well, they kidnapped you and blah blah blah, and so that's what they were doing with it. It's like, okay, but what else? Nothing. We took care of it. You're good. I definitely didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it, which I think leaves me. I think I'm the outlier because I think, for at least from just quickly skimming some of the Trek sites, review sites, people seem to hold this episode in pretty high regard. But I enjoyed. This is one that was less than the sum of its parts for me because I enjoyed a lot of the aspects of it. Yeah. But I didn't necessarily enjoy it as a whole.
There's a lot to enjoy in it, but the biggest problem, and I think that what you were being held back by, and why I agree you should have been held back by it, was the overall principle, which wasn't necessarily original in the sense of we've seen it done before because obviously everything has been done. Whatever. Right. The core concept itself of which side is real and which isn't. Yeah, that part, is exploration that may or may not have needed to have been done. But I think they executed some of those parts really well and better than I've seen in other instances of that.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I agree with you. And you had the acting in an actor playing an actor, not knowing what's real and what's not. I mean, yeah. I can relate to that, but the overall arc.
My first impression, I liked it. You're right. It's hard to really commit to the conceit because of plot armor on a main character. They're not going to take Riker out of the show. I don't want Riker to be taken out of the show, but this would be. I'm going to do my alternate episode right now. You should have picked a crewman we never seen before, some minor below decks lieutenant. And then put them in that situation, and we aren't sure. And also, make them match the aliens or whatever, so that he's not the only human, or she isn't the only human in the asylum. Yeah. And then I think there's a story there, like especially when there's that doubt, or have a variety of species in the insane asylum. When there's that doubt, whether just for half a second, that there might be other Starfleet officers kidnapped. If you make this an episode about characters we don't know, it becomes really interesting and exciting. A la the episode of Doctor Who that first introduced the angels. The weeping angels. Oh my god! Right,
yes.
Right. Because you had an actress that we'd never seen before as the center of that episode, and then you really don't know what's going on and what the stakes are, and that would have fixed this. But back in the early '90s, they weren't taking such big chances, so it's kind of hard to blame them when nobody else was doing it. But at the same time, it's like, taking away the stakes hurt it. Although I really enjoyed Jonathan Frakes in this episode, and he was just having a blast. So, it wasn't all. I liked it. I didn't love it. Probably.
You just made me think of Who Got Destroyed, which that one, they had a different alien in each cell. But those were supposed to be the last insane people in the galaxy. But as there have been a lot
more discovered since then.
I also called the episode Dagger of the Frame of Mind, or Frame of the Dagger of the Mind.
I like it. So we're jumping back to the beginning of the episode. We have a really disturbing opening scene with Riker talking to the doctor, but I recognized Brett Spiner's voice immediately, which really had me going, okay, so what's going on? Because it was clear it wasn't the scenario that we're later told to believe. I didn't realize it was a play. I guess I didn't think it was a play. I knowing the synopsis of the episode ahead of time, I thought maybe Brett Spiner was part of the hallucination, and maybe the other characters were going to be in here as different personalities instead of aliens. But yeah, having that Brett Spiner in there, I didn't know what was going on. I appreciated the drop.
He was just playing yet another character, more and the doctor and all that stuff. But
another Dr. Soong, another member of the Soong family.
Yes.
Maybe it's because I was a little distracted as it was going on, but I didn't really recognize his voice right away. I thought he was doing a good enough affectation, at least not to make that part obvious, but still, that's essentially what I was saying. That's where knowing what was supposed to happen generally helped, because it took me out. I was like, wait a minute. It was like playing with that expectation.
Yeah. No, I agree. I thought it was a cool opening. And then the reveal that it was a play was neat, except, rehearsal for a play, of course, because I love seeing Crusher running plays on the ship as director. I appreciate that running conceit. And this isn't the first time they've dropped us into a play. We didn't realize right away that was a play. But the play was called Frame of Mind.
Right.
I had to have reacted at that point. The whole title of the play, title of the episode.
My first thought was Keith is tickled that they said the name of the episode this early, and they tied it in such an a way. But
I thought at first, when he had his big thing about, you've locked me in here for days, you control my every move, control me what to eat. I thought that was a speech from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So I thought, okay, it survived that long, and I could see that happening. No, I mean, I feel like it might not mirror, but it runs close to. I mean, I thought he was some kind of McMurtry type character, like from Cuckoo's Nest, but and I guess maybe he was.
Yeah, I liked it. Then we had the weird bump in the corridor where he bumps into the alien. That we're like, okay, that's strange. What's that guy doing? Yeah. There's that weird look.
Yeah.
So there's something's going on that we don't understand.
Passionate. So I read that right before we came in here. My favorite Tumblr, TNG Tumblr. They said. Riker's like, why is everyone staring at me? Because you're acting like a weirdo. Staring at you, running your lines. I can't speak for you guys, but I know I've definitely, maybe not quite to that extent, but definitely either been running or walking and been running lines and looked like a crazy person. So I could definitely relate to Will there. And also, I think maybe it's before then when Beverly says there is such a thing as over rehearsing. I was like, yes, there is. There definitely is.
I've never been quite so bold as to do that in public. Started recording lines to listen to in the car once or twice, and that was very helpful to speak along to or speak back to. But
I think it's even weirder because what I usually end up doing is like moving my mouth and making gestures, but not necessarily saying the lines. So then it's even more like, what's going on with that weirdo over there?
He's talking a lot, but he's not saying anything.
What do you think of their costumes? It was very minimalist costumes in this. I guess you'd want minimalist costumes for a play like this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think, and again, I'll go back to Whom Gods Destroy. I felt like everyone got to be more individualistic. Yvonne Craig, Batgirl, was in that episode, and she was an Orion, so they just put her in almost nothing. But everyone else, I felt like, had their own kind of garb. Everyone didn't have a uniform. But Dagger to the Mind, I think they did. Everybody did have a uniform. But.
So they go to the conversation in the Ready Room where Picard's filling in Riker on this mission. And, this planet's government's collapsing. Everything's all messed up. So you have to go in by yourself. It was a kind of fun little exchange where Riker's like, well, I guess I can't do the play. Even though it seemed like he was really looking forward to the play. Right. I think he was just in his own head a bit. And then Picard's like, oh, God, I'll make sure you can do the play because I'm certainly not going to take the part.
Yeah, I did like, it's like, because Beverly's going to come to get me to do it. Yeah. That was huge.
Yeah, I wonder how many times he's been pulled into... and because it's his fault because he assigns the crewman the duty. So, of course, that he doesn't have an argument against.
Do you guys think Beverly wrote the play?
I don't. It felt like a real play, though. Like I
kept saying her play, but that can be.
Well, yeah, her production.
Just because she was directing,
her production, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she wrote it. Yeah. That would be very interesting if it was. According to Memory Alpha, it was written and directed by Beverly Crusher.
Oh, well, there you go.
Nice.
I was actually Googling to see if it was a real play because just from the glimpses we saw of it, it really didn't have anything to do with aliens. It was murder and the crazy person, and it felt to me like a real play.
Yeah. While we're in the play, it was something I wanted to say before about Frakes and the acting. I don't know if I would have appreciated it at the time. And I know I wouldn't have, honestly. The subtle variations he was doing for when he was acting like he was acting, when he was acting like he was distracted while acting, when he was acting like he was overacting, when he was acting like he was actually, you know what I'm saying? Those different things. I was like, I was just in awe the way he was pulling some of that off, especially that first one and the cold open was meant to be especially believable to fool us because just that last bit before he's starting to break that. I found this all really relatable actually, as far as the way that they're portraying that kind of dream state. It really represents some of the types of dreams I've had before in some ways. They're trying to wake up to the next level and like, wait, no, I'm still actually asleep. That has happened. And it feels a lot like that. And it was just amazing.
Also fun note on Memory Alpha, because I was reading the entry on Frame of Mind. It was recently referenced in the season finale of Lower Decks where Beckett Marinor was impugned by the reporter and nobody was believing her, and she said she felt like she was in a frame of mind situation.
Oh my God, I didn't catch that.
So I didn't either, but I assume she means the play because it had a long, successful tour and she became familiar with it.
That's fun.
Or do you think they film their plays and send them to other ships to watch? Because you can only fit like 12 people in there. Maybe they filmed them.
Well, I had a note about that, the 12 people, which was the theater crowd, and it hasn't really changed from Conscious of the King, TOS, to now. It really, although I think Conscious of the King had a bigger, I think their theater was bigger, but I wrote the theater crowd equals the size of many of the planet's populations they visit, which we'll talk about next week.
I mean, given the technology of the age, they should have enough recording devices in there to create a holosuite program so on Earth or on any ship, you could go in and see it as a play.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome. Yeah. So Worf was showing Riker all the stuff to get him all ready. And he accidentally cuts Riker because Riker's not paying attention.
Right.
And Riker's like, oh, sorry, I guess I should have been paying attention better. But it sure doesn't seem like he's actually taking responsibility for getting cut. It sure seems like he's blaming Worf, even as he's apologizing.
Yeah, and that whole scene was weird in that also made me think, what is the deal?
What is the deal?
Yeah, what?
Somebody had to do it. Wasn't expecting Jimmy to do it, but
yeah,
somebody had to.
That might have been the moment where I got even more into the reality versus not reality. Something's off here. Mm-hmm. Maybe it will be something really interesting, even though it ended up not being that interesting to me. But yeah, so I thought it was fascinating because I feel like, that was a good cut, and I'm surprised he didn't deck him. But
well, that ended up being the setup too.
Right.
For the whole thing, is like I didn't even really, until you mentioned it just now. I'd forgotten about the reason why that scene was probably there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for several reasons, but that cut being significant.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, comes back later. Riker is really bothered by the burned crewman. We start to see his paranoia there, where he thinks everybody is watching him, and you understand that there's something psychologically messing with Riker. You don't yet know the extent of it. You might just think he's taken the play a little too much to heart, and it's messed with his brain, because certainly stuff like that can mess with you. But
I wouldn't know.
Troy and Riker's conversation and their kiss goodbye on the side of the mouth, man, they just seem so close at this point, and it's such a lovely relationship. And as much as you want it to be romantic, there are scenes like this where I'm like, it doesn't have to be romantic. That does not take away from what it is at all, the lack of romance. Like, it is just really good the way it is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was distracted by her curly hair and thinking about whether that was her extensions or a wig. I'm sure it was her actual hair, but it was kind of straight and then curly. But I felt the same way. Like, this is a really nice scene. Ditto.
When we actually see Riker performing the play, I just wrote down, Frakes can act. Whether you think he's being over the top or hammy or whatever, I think he did such a solid job in this episode.
Yeah, I think it starts out that way, and then eventually, like Keith said, that he actually finds levels and different places to go. He commits, and it's again, I have to go back to TOS, but a lot of things Shatner did. Obviously there's the things that people make fun of him about, but there's also a lot of the times that he's just committing. He doesn't care what this quote unquote dumb sci-fi show's about. He's committing to what's going on, and so is Frakes here.
But since we're at that point, that is one of the things I was trying to describe. I didn't, it didn't seem quite that believable. I mean, the character of Will Riker's performance in that moment in that play wasn't quite as good as it was, I think, in the opening, or as it would end up being later. And that was kind of the point. And it was just, I love the idea of being able to do that, to convey, I'm going to be like at this flat level up here for this performance. And then, I don't know. I felt like I understood what he was trying to get across there, or the point in the story.
Sure. I did catch, and this is minor, but great detail, Beverly mouthing the words along. She's acting. I have never done that on one of my shows, but
You haven't?
Sure there are many directors that do. So as we're watching the play, we suddenly see that alien he ran into at the Turbolift in the audience. Dr. Cyrus is who we find out the character is, played by David Selberg, who has 73 credits. He will play a Vulcan captain in an episode of Star Trek Enterprise. He'll play another character in an episode of Voyager as well. So somebody that they invite back, despite the fact that they don't even have a picture on IMDb. They're best known for On Deadly Ground and this role, according to IMDb, as well as Species, where they play Government Man, and The Bourne Identity, where they played Marshall. So not a lot of named roles that they're famous for. But
not having a picture is more of an indication of whether the actor decided to pay for it.
Well, this actor died in a year ago as we're recording this, November 2021. So maybe that's why they're not paying for it.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of dead actors that have pictures, though. I'm just saying.
Maybe they didn't cancel their subscription in time. They were anticipating the death, or they had.
What about the people that died before IMDb was even created?
They have.
There must be a level of fame where they get a picture whether they're paying for it or not.
That's what I would.
You would think, yeah, I guess.
There's got to be, because you can't tell me that every main character in a show that I look up always has a picture, and you can't tell me that 100% of Hollywood actors are like shelling out for that. I mean, maybe a studio might shell out if they're an active show, but if it's an old show and they still have a picture, that's where I'm like, I think there's some level of fame where IMDb doesn't charge you to put the picture. I think it's just us lowly peons that have to pay for our pictures.
That makes sense.
They don't even want to pay $8 for a check mark on Twitter, so. Well, now they do. Now everyone wants to pay $8 because they can be anybody they want. Well, maybe that got fixed.
If I was still using Twitter, I would have so much fun with that.
It's been hilarious.
So Riker is sent into the cafeteria to eat, but no one else in there is eating. They're all just playing.
Yeah.
or doing models or whatever. Like, is it lunchtime? Why is he eating and nobody else is?
I think the indication was that, or what they were trying to get across is that he's maybe the one sane person there, or the one who's woken up enough to, be there to be there for its intended purpose.
Mm. The woman that's in there when Riker's eating that comes up to him that acts all crazy. It says her name's inmate Jaya is what she's credited as IMDb. But I took note of her because she's played by a notable actress, Susanna Thompson, best known for Once and Again, which was a show I actually did watch. The Dragonfly, a 2002 movie, Malignant, which is a recent movie, and Star Trek Voyager, playing the Borg Queen in 3 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, the original Borg Queen was Alice Krige in the film, and then she declined to return for Voyager, so they recast her as Susanna Thompson. And I think Alice Krige did end up playing her in Voyager as well. And then, we've had a few actresses play the Borg Queen, but yeah. She also will do an episode of DS9, just one, as another character, not a Borg. I don't remember ever seeing the Borg in DS9. I don't think there are Borg in DS9. But anyway, that's neither here nor there at the moment. But yeah, I love Susanna Thompson. I was like, that's so cool. It's such a tiny role. And she's got a ton of credits. So I don't know. I mean, back then, maybe she wasn't as famous. But she only has 55 credits. That other actor had 73, and I was criticizing him. So
she was in the next phase also.
Oh, it looks like this is only like her 4th or 5th role. So yeah, she really wasn't known at this point.
I love that gag. I love that insane asylum gag where you're talking to someone who seems lucid, and then they pull out the Napoleon hat or something and put the hand of the jacket. That whole thing.
I mean, I think I kind of gets back to what I already said. The giveaway to me was every single inmate was that one species. So when she says, "I'm from the Yorktown," and all these other inmates are Starfleet officers too, I'm like, no, they're all the local aliens. You can tell.
Did she say Starfleet?
She did. She said she was in Starfleet. She was on the Yorktown, which now that we know the whole story, I think was the aliens trying to manipulate Riker into thinking he's crazy by putting somebody that seems so obviously crazy in there. And I know it all happened in his brain and it wasn't a physical environment, but I have to believe they're manipulating the events in his brain. And so to insert a character who is crazy with the same delusions that Riker has will make him more likely to think his are delusions, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a reasonable interpretation. I think there were several things going on that if you're trying to con somebody in that way, you would put in plants or drop in planted characters to do things like that, and also to get him talking or thinking about the information that you want to get from him. So talking about Starfleet or trying to direct his attention to those kinds of details, like, oh, who would be on that ship? Who's the captain? Since the whole thing was, we would eventually find out a way to try to draw out classified information from him.
Right. Riker's no when told he stabbed a man. that was just absolutely cheesy. I'm sorry. Like at this point he's starting to doubt his insanity. Why is he so sure he didn't stab a man? And in fact, based on what we find out, I think he kind of did stab a man, right?
Well, that
actually happened.
Yeah.
The cheesiness though, that's the whole point. That is somebody who's like losing a grip on decorum at that point. It's just it's denial.
Another instance where Star Wars ripped off Star Trek, because as you remember, Revenge of the Sith. No.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Riker says he has the high ground in that scene.
I thought you were going to say the Skywalker and Vader scene. No, it can't be.
That's impossible.
Yeah. No.
A lot of good no's. A lot of good no's.
There was a period of this episode where they made it seem like the insane place was just a nightmare. That's not the direction they went, but for a second I kind of believed them.
Well, yeah, that's the whole bit.
Yeah. I mean,
is this the Twilight Zone? And this is the part of the episode where I'm just like, yeah, this would work so much better without the plot armor of Riker being the center of it.
When you first said that, my thoughts went like directly to a Barclay. We've seen a couple of episodes that with him, and it kind of worked in the sense that he's not around often enough, and there really are indicators that he would have, not necessarily insane or whatever. I was probably say neurodivergent back then before they had the word for it. But that is certainly something that could, a believable thing that you could put a character like that through, and maybe he'll come out of it, maybe not. I think Barclay's enough armor that you probably won't believe at this point that they're going to kill him or whatever, but it would be a lot more doubt about what's going on.
But what if, and I don't believe they should do this because it is important for them to show neurodivergent characters, like having a fulfilling life and being good at their job. But what if they did this episode with Barclay in season 6, and then we found out Barclay was never a crewman on the ship? He just has imagined this whole time. I mean, it's kind of along the line, sort of what they do with Barclay and Voyager, but to a less offensive extent. But that would have been a really interesting story, and also a way to negate like 3 other episodes that we'd seen in a really interesting and cool way.
It would be nice. Yeah, I would love to see that type of commitment, and I feel like there have to have been shows that have done that before that I can't think of at the moment, but.
Half the time when an episode like this, I think it's a holodeck episode. Mm-hmm. I didn't think that this time, but we've got Moriarty out there in a holodeck scenario, stuck in there.
Just a hard drive somewhere, I think.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. That's it. Yeah.
The crew appeared to him, to Riker, in the thing, and this was initially I was like, is he going back and forth between things? Is it a short-term memory messed up? But no, this is again part of the manipulation. The crew appears to him, and at first it's the hologram, right? That Troy represents his feelings, Worf's his aggression, and Picard is his logic, and they're telling him like the different sides of his persona. But then they say the Enterprise is real and that this is not, and that to me is like, oh, they're trying to wake him up. They're trying to, but no, he's not even rescued yet. The whole thing is in his brain until the last scene.
That was beautiful to me, honestly. It was well constructed. One of the things I was referring to in that sense, that executing that feeling of those things bleeding together and it being up to him to start locking onto something constant, to reason it out to a point where you can go, okay, wait a minute, I know what the determining marker is going to be, which of course is the cut that they introduced way back when, which may or may not have been a cut, but it seemed to correspond to the implant or the entry point that they were in his head, the actual physical pain transferring over to that.
Crusher says that he was kidnapped during the undercover mission when she approaches him in the cafeteria. I guess that we're meant to say that this isn't all part of what the aliens are doing, that this is his brain fighting back. And so I guess the crewmen like talking to him and Crusher sneaking in, which, the whole, had it been legit, her sneaking in as saying she was a medic, posing as a medical professional, I didn't buy that because they would be suspicious and they would keep her out. So I guess that makes sense. It wasn't really happening, but
yeah,
still.
I almost bought it, I guess, at that point, honestly.
Yeah,
and so it's interesting.
It's only an after effect that we really can break down whether these were real or not. In the moment, you just don't know. Which is part of the beauty of the episode.
Yeah, right. Like at this moment, I started worrying about whether or not that was just, I don't want to say lazy, but just something they kind of threw in there to mess with the audience, or if you could go back and actually explain it in terms of the explanations they were giving for what his mind might have been doing and why. Because that's something I hadn't gone back to think about yet. Like, why would it be represented in that sense? What is that struggle? What is the struggle that's actually happening at that point? Or is that's yeah? No, I guess it would be. I'm answering my own question. I guess I think that was likely a tactic being employed by the aliens who are trying to get into his mind, like dropping in this other scenario, saying, "Hey, look, you're almost rescued. Let's go and think about, Starfleet secrets and so on."
Riker resists the rescue attempt and hides behind the guard. Again, the rescue attempt didn't happen. It was all in his mind fighting back. But it was a pretty intense scene. The Data and Worf coming to rescue him and how it all went down.
Yeah, I was again starting to buy it, and I was almost getting like frustrated on their behalf. Like, come on, just go with them. They're here to rescue you. Stop acting crazy. Let's just get this done. Let's get the explanations and things. And nope.
But did you believe at this point, based on what we saw, that Riker would have enough doubt to resist going with them, to resist that reality? Because I did. I was convinced that I thought what we saw was enough of a brainwash to make him doubt the truth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, so you're saying, asking if it's believable that he wouldn't believe it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Then we get that weird scene where it seems like he's been rescued in sick bay and his head keeps bleeding and there's the phaser. And that's when you realize, like, no, this isn't real either. Like, something's still off. The special effects of the shattering weren't my favorite, but for the time period, I think they were okay.
Yeah, for the time period, and they were unexpected too. So I liked that sense of it.
I think Stephen mentioned that around the beginning of the show, as being one of the good things about it. And it's just, I think that the unexpected nature of that goes a long way with it. It's not like you're waiting for it. It's not like we're in a Marvel movie going, okay, come on, where's this stuff that's gonna, dazzle us with something. It's just like, oh, that was the point where I remembered having seen this episode before. Like up to that point, I hadn't really. I was like, I don't know. I probably haven't. And I was like, oh, I remember this sequence. It kind of stuck in my in my mind for that reason, I suppose. You know?
No matter who these bad guys kidnapped, they would have been able to play with their mind and convince them. But man, was it a really lucky coincidence for them that Riker was just doing this play that made him question.
Oh man,
that's the part that really hurt the episode for me. As much as I enjoyed it, I was like,
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, it would have been so much harder. I actually watched this episode twice, which is rare for me for this podcast, because I was distracted the first time with a few things that were happening around me. And so I honestly was not entirely sure of how things shook out and what the reality was until I went back the second time and just focused on it.
Interesting.
First of all, I do want to know what happened to Mavek. That was all in Riker's head, right? So it doesn't matter? Because Mavek's like shot, but then Mavek played by Gary Werntz. Yeah, he's like shot point blank with the phaser.
Right.
I guess we should talk about Gary Werntz. He's best known for Pay It Forward, On the Basis of Sex, The Peacemaker, and Deep Impact. He has 52 credits. He was in an episode of Firefly back in the day. And this is his only Star Trek credit. He almost looked like Jeff Bridges to me.
Huh.
Wait,
but I enjoyed his performance.
Yeah.
I thought Mavek was the security guard guy.
Yeah, the big security guard that was taunting. And
Jeff Bridges, well...
For a minute, there were certain angles, I thought. Anyway.
I would talk about the cast. I don't know who picks the pictures for Wikipedia, but Susanna Thompson picked an excellent picture of herself at the Paley Fest.
Her marketing person.
Yeah, nice hair. Anyway, sorry.
He looked like, well, certainly well cast for the part of what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I've seen him do other characters like that and similar things, like a Whedon project of some sort, probably. That is something that I hadn't really considered. How many of the people that he was seeing, the aliens, in his mind were based on people he actually saw in the street, perhaps, or people he might have interacted with during that mugging or something. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's who they were.
And did they all look that way? Yeah, because of
or just
being he encountered on the planet or whatever.
I mean, the other guest star of note we haven't talked about is Administrator Suna, played by Andrew Prine, best known for Gettysburg, The Lords of Salem, The Miracle Worker, and Eliminators. 184 credits. So lot of work. Boston Legal is one of his credits. I love Boston Legal. Good Star Trek connection there. Lots of films and TV guest star roles, a good mix of the two. He will also play an episode, or a different character in an episode DS9. This episode was written by Braden Braga, one of our favorites, and directed by James L. Conway, who's best known for directing The Magicians, Supernatural, Smallville, Charmed. A lot of CW type credits there, WB back in the day. Or, producer of those. Sorry, not director, but he probably directed.
Whatever.
He probably directed a lot of those. Yeah, he directed 8 episodes of The Magicians. He directed an episode of The Orville more recently. Directed some of Star Trek Enterprise, DS9, Voyager, 3 episodes of Next Gen. So maybe we already talked about him. Yeah, he directed Justice and The Neutral Zone way back in season 1, and then came back for this episode. So he only did 3 Next Gens, 2 in season 1 and this one. Yeah, interesting.
Justice sticks out to me.
Of course it does. I knew it would. As soon as I said it, I knew it would. Riker escaped himself. That seemed hokey and ridiculous, right? That he just happens to be able to fight off their drugs enough to wake up and there's a communicator and a knife just right there. That made me think it was another layer of the deception because it was so easy. Yeah.
That's a good point. Again, they made good use of that device with the head wound as a good way to mark what was going on. And we actually saw the cause of it, or at least the cause of what his mind was translating is the head wound. Mm-hmm. I guess my first thought was being too easy for him to pop it out of his head without any seeming consequences to that. They explained, quote unquote, explained that in that moment that the attending alien, I keep trying to put the verbal quote marks around the term alien, because right, wasn't paying close enough attention to the anesthesia or something like that, and it was starting to wear thin, which would also be which also correspond with the effect that Riker was experiencing before he woke up. A greater clarity. It was harder for him to commit to being, how it is when you're starting to get out of or fall out of a dream. As you start thinking, wait, this doesn't quite make sense. If I'm doing this, then this, and this other thing doesn't make sense in this world. And it's like, oh wait, you have that moment of being loose. It's like, whoa, okay, if I have control, I want to do. Nope, you're awake. So once you start reasoning out the marker, the consistent place of the head wound, he's able to start pushing. And right, that the other device they often use, and I don't know if they did this in Inception. No, they did actually. I think the idea of killing yourself or destroying the world around you to shatter the illusion, in almost a literal sense. It's symbolic refusal of staying immersed in it, or actually overtaxing your brain's ability to play along, I suppose.
Yeah. It just felt too easy at the end. I'm sorry. It kind of hurt it for the whole.
No, I won't disagree with that. I think I'm just saying that there are internal things to make it make sense, but that, being able to just plop it out of his head, have the communicator, the knife right there. Yeah. If I'd been paying closer attention, that would have made me doubt some things. They could have played with it. And
I think the thing about the ending, like you're saying, Jimmy, and all that, is the thing I talk about lots of times, holding back on that reveal. And, the longer you go, the better and bigger that reveal better be. And this one was not great because I felt like it was like, okay, yep, I kind of figured it was something like that. I guess I'm repeating what I said earlier, but that kind of drove it home also. It was like, okay, yep, not terribly exciting and real easy to get out. And yeah. It was. I guess this episode was really about the friends we made along the
way. That was you said something just then that I hadn't thought about either. And if you added a little bit more to that theorem, I guess, for lack of a better term, the idea of if you're going to hold out for that long, it's going to need to be something of a commensurate level of spectacularness to me. Oh yeah, that was worth it. Which I guess in many of these cases would translate to something like, this is something that I did not see coming to this extent. It would have to be something over and above what you had already started to figure out.
I guess why that didn't bother me, that I didn't need it to be bigger, is there were so many false starts of like, is this the end? Is this is he rescued? What's real? What's not? That it felt like that I don't know. I was still just wondering, is this real or not? Until the very final scene where he's tearing down the set, which was a great closure scene. I approved of that choice for sure. But until that moment, I still wasn't 100% sure, other than maybe looking at the running time and going, oh, there's 2 minutes left, so this must be real.
I enjoyed him demoing the set as well. There's definitely been shows where it's like, oh man, I don't want to take this apart. And there's been shows where I'm like, I cannot wait to tear this set apart. It also begs the question, Beverly doesn't have a tech crew to handle that?
No, she said she did. She said the tech crew and I are going to handle it tomorrow. And Riker said, no, I can't go to sleep like this.
Right.
Yeah. That was
I've never felt pleasure at tearing down the set. I've always been regretful. Like, it's too bad.
I wish she pulled it back and it just been the set again, and then the set again.
Oh my God!
Then now you got some.
But Jimmy, I think you go back a bit. I think you hit upon why that didn't occur to me either, as far as it being too easy, or rather, it didn't bother me because I was caught up in just what they had woven together, as far as the feeling they were creating of. I think if it had been too too precise or obvious, for lack of a better, if it were something that you certain, what am I looking for? I don't know. I guess something that would have satisfied you to its authenticity at that moment. I don't know if it would have created as a satisfactory an effect anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they may very well have intentionally sacrificed that kind of thing just to keep that feeling going till the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the end let me down a bit, but by the time I was sure it was real, the ending credits were rolling, So In that regard, it worked.
The Empire let the Millennium Falcon get away from the Death Star. Princess Leia says it was too easy. So
I mean, that really was too easy. Other than the shot that had to be perfect, but the fact that all of our lead characters survived it, and all of those other
getting
people
away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fashion. We kind of talked about the costumes already.
Yeah.
But the alien makeup, man, that was a lot of loaf on the forehead.
Loaf.
So heavy.
Yeah.
Like I kept expecting it to like fall over top heavy.
And I mean, I don't mean to slam on the Telonians, Telonesians, whatever they are, but they all shape their hair. Telonis. It looked like they shaped their hair to match the shape of their head. And I'm like, that's a bad move. You should be doing a comb over or bangs or something. It just made them, and I think the Fashion and Soap people referenced it. It looked like they had a butt on their forehead. And then they took their hair and were like, we're just going to make this the same shape. Bad choices. Very bad.
See, they're now we get the Twilight Zone thing of being very human centric.
That's true.
What our aesthetic standards would be.
I thought you were going to say either they're beautiful, or that was the sign of his dementia. Was that who in their right mind would wear that hair with that head?
That's a great.
Oh, that would have been a great ending there. If we're during the whole debriefing, and so how did you do it? Well, the hair, obviously. What gave it away?
Well, one of the Telonesians, easy for you to say. That's what it means. One of them walks by with good hair, and then he realizes, it was a dream all.
They didn't have to have bad hair.
That's right. At some point in the rehearsals, it might be the second, or maybe the performance, Data character says, I can see we have a lot of work to do. And I just thought, no doubt. Yes, you do. You have a lot of work to do on this episode. And they did some of it. And then my alternate episode, I want to see the play. Frame of mind.
Yeah.
I was in the frame of mind to see the play. But that was my other thought are those the only two people in the show? Because then maybe I don't want to see it.
It might be. It might have been a two-man show. I would have bought that.
I could watch 20 minutes of it. I don't want to watch an hour and a half. So maybe
could have been a one act or something.
I can do a two-man show.
Well, on different nights, they
sure, if you freeze.
If I'm in the mood, you do have to be in the mood for it. I'll give you that. But
it was like True West. There for 1 week.
True. I was just gonna say True West. That was a good one.
Next week, Data played the crazy person, and Riker was the doctor.
That would have been interesting.
That's probably one of Beverly's ideas. She wants to try that.
So I had to go to the wiki just to confirm what the name was. Of course, the planet was Telonis. That's T as in Telonis. I as in.
I can't.
As in it's Telonis.
Telonis.
L as in Lord. It's Telonis.
Oh, as in oh my God, Telonis.
Amazing.
It is in it's never mind. Let's get to the rankings. Who was your annoyance?
Mine is Riker the inmate.
Yeah.
He drove me insane.
I'm just going
not
Dr.
Jonathan
Cyrus.
Frakes. Not Jonathan Frakes.
Yeah. I'm just going with Dr. Cyrus.
Yeah, he was there too, but I went with Riker.
I mean, he left the communicator and the knife just sitting there. Come on.
I'm going to say Mavic. He's supposed to be annoying, and he was,
I love Mavic.
I mean, there's a little bit of fun with it, but I hate that he was doing such a good job of being that guy that I just cannot deal with that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's an awful person that you don't want to actually see in real life, but he was chewing up the scenery, having so much fun. I really enjoyed the element he added to the character myself. Who do you want to have a drink with?
Riker the actor. The drink with.
I mean, I chose Riker as well because after everything he went through, he's going to need a drink, and I am down for having that drink with him.
Same, actually, yeah. Especially
Beverly
Riker the actor.
Kind of makes sense in the sense of the director and all that, but Riker. Yeah. I want to find out about his method.
Yeah, and then maybe cast him in your next OGP show.
There you go. Yeah.
Ranking the episode, I feel like this is a tough one because I know Keith seems to really like it. Steven seems to not be so thrilled with it, and I feel like I'm kind of in the middle. So I feel like we're going to have a hard time finding where this needs to go. I'm just going to pick a spot in the middle. Face of the Enemy. I believe that's the one where Troy thinks she's a Romulan. So
hilarious. That's amazing.
Another brainwashing.
Yeah, that's... Oh, man. Well, they're probably about the right place here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go above though. Honestly, I think this was a little more inventive and interesting.
I have strong feelings for that episode, but I can't say it's a better episode. I can say I liked it better, but I can't say it's a better episode.
Yeah.
Above, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go up. Above that is the quality of life.
I think I like this one better, but this really does feel like recency business. I can't really pull quality of life back up into my head to see how I felt about it at the time. It just,
my love of Face the Enemy notwithstanding, yeah, this is very close. I think I'd go quality of life.
You go quality of life above?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Like I said, I think there was a lot of good stuff about this. I think it was bold, but there were some weak points that were just really glaring. So we're going to land it there. But Keith, if we would have kept going, Birthright Part 1 is above that?
probably not.
Okay.
No. This. I mean, when I started to think about really with what the quality of life represented, the things were going on there.
Yeah,
that was probably more substantial and worthy of the kind of reference we were getting in say Lower Decks, which that's going to sort of influence my opinion. I think, unfortunately.
Yeah,
unfortunately, whatever. But yeah, this is a more of a standalone kind of. We got to see a little character stuff going on, but not really.
Okay, so that puts it number 10 of 22. Next week, DS9, the Storyteller. While Sisko tries to negotiate an agreement between two Bajoran factions, totally missed the point of what that story was about. Yep. He orders O'Brien to escort Bashir to investigate an emergency that endangers a village. Until then, live long.
And scene.
Yes.
And prosper.
Sweet.
No notes.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?